High on Life. Let's talk about it. So, High on Life is a unique gaming experience that was designed and created by and from the creators of Rick and Morty. So, what they incorporate into this game is a lot of adult humor, a lot of jokes, a lot of kind of edgy material, a lot of stuff that you really wouldn't want like someone under like probably even 16 years old playing. I probably wouldn't even recommend it for someone under 18. However, for an adult to play it, this game is a lot of fun. Do be warned, obviously speaking, as it is Rick and Morty styled, there is a lot of adult humor in this game. There is a lot of sensitive type humor in this game. A lot of explicit kind of content. This is really not something for children to play at all. Probably not even for some teenagers out there. However, that being said, High on Life, aside from its humor, is a completely worthless game. There is absolutely no story to the game. The only story is going out and defeating these cartel bosses, so to speak. They're not actually cartel, so don't think I'm promoting the cartel here, but they're basically like that. And you have to go and defeat these bosses because they took over Earth and they're trying to traffic humans as basically, fun time drugs. But obviously, that's not something that you probably want your kids to play either. However, you are one of the few people who escapes Earth, and you have to go out and defeat these people if you want to save Earth. So throughout the process of the game, you pick up these Gatlians, which are different styles of, weapons that you can use to defeat the bosses as you travel throughout multiple different realms and dimensions. However, aside from the little bit of story surrounding defeating these bosses, there's not really anything for you to do in this game aside from explore. There's not really side quests, there's not really side missions, there's not really much of anything that builds up the story. There's really just nothing there. The combat, just it's basically the same thing over and over and over and over and over again as you go throughout the game. So it becomes very repetitive and very old. Even just exploring around trying to find chests and stuff like that, it's all the same kind of thing. Just wandering around, finding a chest, opening it, going through multiple parkour steps in order to get to these chests, and it's all repetitive and annoying. Now, there's some unique environments throughout the game that you can find that are funny. A lot of the jokes are funny. But aside from the humor, there's just nothing to this game. There's not really a reason to pay for or play this game. There's just nothing there. If you want to play a game to laugh at it, specifically this game, I would recommend getting Game Pass from Xbox because it's free if you download Game Pass. And you can get 1 month of Game Pass for like 15 bucks. Download High on Life, play it for free instead of spending like 60 bucks to play this crappy game. And then you can play the game, laugh at it, have fun, get your like 8 hours of gaming in, maybe play all the side stuff that there is, just exploring the worlds, finding all this stuff. Spend like 20 some hours in the game, and then it's done. Now, a lot of your choices do affect how the game turns out, but even so, there's just nothing to this game anywhere. I mean, it's just the same stuff over and over and over and over and over again. The guns are basically the same. They're repetitive, they're basic. None of them are super strong or powerful until the very last gun that you get. The guns have more of a story arc than you as the main character do, where they're talking about their home planet having been destroyed by these bosses, where you have to go in and help these guys maybe get back to their planet, but then, oh, that's right, their planet's been poisoned, so you can't go back. Nothing can live on their planet really anymore. Then you're helping these guns, because they're all of the same species. You're helping them all reconnect with each other and unite. But then it turns out that one of them was the one who caused all these issues and got their home planet destroyed. So now you're trying to like emotionally connect for these beings. But again, there's just not that much there. That's just the guns. That's not the main character at all. So the main character has no story. Your sister has more of a story than you do. Your sister meets this weird alien guy named Tweeg, who's basically her boyfriend for a short time. And depending on your choices, you can find your sister having kidnapped him and gone to the middle of outer space, or her just leaving with him. I believe in some versions she might end up unaliving him. But either way, you can like convince your sister to come back, which is what I did, where I just convinced her to leave Twig and just come back to the ship because it turns out Twig was going to sell her out to the bosses anyways. And so she was like, "Ooh, well, that's kind of creepy. So I'm going back with you. Screw you, Twig." Even the what's he called? The bounty hunter that you first meet in the game. He's got more of a story arc than you do, because as you're exploring throughout the game, like you find this knife. It's literally just called Knifey. Wow, original name, right? That's the humor of it, though. But the knife turns out to be his former knife. Some of the Gatlians know of him. Some of the people you run into know of him. But even that, he has more of a story than you, the main character, do. So if you're playing this game to be immersed and to play a game, that's just not going to happen. It, at least not for me, in my experience. Running through the worlds, collecting stuff, you're constantly fighting creatures inside of these areas, or you're fighting the cartels, bosses, employees, or whatever you want to call them, and you end up just repeatedly having to fight your way through every little aspect and every little area of this map or the other maps inside of it. And it just ends up feeling like you're just moving through like a swamp with heavy weights on your shoes. You're just like sludging your way through this. And it's boring and it's drawn out and slow. Because instead of being able to just run around and explore, you got to fight all these stupid enemies. And then in certain areas, there's environmental enemies. But there's not just like a handful of them here and there. Especially at the beginning, there's just a crap ton of them, and it's really hard to defeat them. It's really hard to keep going on with it, and it's really, really annoying to deal with. Especially like on one of the planets where you end up meeting these like little teddy bears. Um, their home species that you have to deal with is basically like a crab, but like a land crab that can like tunnel and dig. But in the area that I was in, I still only had the base gun. His name was Kenny, but I still only had the base gun, and I ended up getting surrounded by like 25 of these things as I was just exploring, and I just couldn't take them out, couldn't take them out. Part of that was due to my poor aim and accuracy, but mostly it was due to the massive amount of enemies that were here as I was trying to explore the area. And then there were other frustrating things like I'm on the first world trying to do the second mission, taking out the second boss, and so I've got the one gun, and I can't even run around and complete these objectives and missions and things and complete these side quests or find the chests because I only have the one gun and I need the other guns in order to traverse the terrain and get to these other areas. So I end up having to come back to the planet that I was on multiple times in order to be able to get the stuff there if I wanted to collect it all, which is incredibly annoying. There's no reason for that. I understand having it a little bit where, like you want your players to come back to this certain area and explore a little bit. So you give them, you know, having to find different weapons or something like that in order to unlock different areas. But it's just the fact that the overwhelming majority of these areas, you had to basically complete the game. But if you wait too long trying to find these other weapons to make sure that you have everything before you go back, you end up not being able to go back because you've made some choices and now you get transported to the Gatlian's planet and you can't even travel back to these other worlds. You can't go. And at that point, it's just like, what? You can't go explore the pawn shop either at that point, which is how you purchase upgrades. So you end up not even being able to upgrade your stuff. So like I ended the game with like 15,000 points or something because as I was progressing through the missions trying to unlock these guns so I could go back and explore, I got too far ahead and I couldn't even go back to the pawn shop to buy the upgrades. Now, yes, I know there's a portal that you can use to teleport around, but it ends up becoming extremely difficult to do, and basically the game forces you to continue and finish the game. But again, as I will say, as far as the humor goes, this game was really, really funny. That part was enjoyable, but the actual gameplay of the game, the actual combat of the game, sucked. The actual story of the game basically didn't exist. The main character didn't have a story. So yeah, this game was just absolutely horrible. I would never pay for this game if I knew it was like this, which I didn't. I got it off of Xbox Game Pass, but still, I would never recommend you buy this game unless you're looking at it purely just to play for like 8 hours to get some humor. I would not buy this game at all. It's absolutely garbage for anything other than humor. And if humor is all that's there, it's not a game at that point. It's just humor. At which point, why not just go write an animated, comedy script or something? Like animated stand up or something, which you easily could have done with the jokes that were in this because most of it was a storyline form of jokes. So yeah, that's it. It's just I just don't think it's a good game.